Hi, I wanted to share a video game that I got way back in the day, way back in the early '90s. And that's this game. This is like the first video game I ever owned. Was Mortal Kombat on Sega Genesis. Mortal Kombat 1 on Sega Genesis. So I was looking through my things and I found this, and I just wanted to talk about it for a little bit, or make a short video about it. I think this game pretty much changed video game history forever, right? I mean, see this the MA13 right there. Zoom in a little bit. MA13. See, the whole rating system was based because of Mortal Kombat. Uh, and then this eventually morphed into ESRB, which is where you see like teen, mature, E, and things like that on video games these days on PS4 or Xbox One or Nintendo Switch, etc., etc. So this game pretty much changed video games forever because of the violence and stuff like that. So I love this game growing up in the early '90s. I think this game came out in 1990, September 1993, and I got it like a few months after, or my dad got it for me a few months later. Then he didn't like this game because it was so violent. It was so violent. So my dad thought I would get into fights with people, in particular white people. For some reason, my dad thought I would get into fights with white people or white boys because of this video game. So I found that really interesting, weird. He would always say, if you keep playing this game, you're gonna get into a fight with white boys or white people for some reason. It was never like black kids or anything. It was always it was always like white people. You would be afraid of me getting beat up or picking fights with some white boys or something. I don't know why, but anyways, he didn't like this game, so he forbade me from playing this. So when I went to I think it was third grade, yeah, when I was in no, I'm sorry, when I was in second grade, he banned me from playing this game. So he took my Sega Genesis, he took this game, and he just locked it up in a storage, or he locked it up in a locker. Right, so I couldn't play this game for like years because of that. To replace or to find a new hobby because I couldn't play video games anymore. I started reading comic books, and that's how I got into comic books in 1994. 1995, I started collecting comic books. Spider Man, Iron Man, Superman, Batman. I was a big Spider Man fan back in the mid '90s because the animated TV show was on Fox Kids. The Fox Kids was a Cartoon Network back in the day. It's gone now, but they had some good TV shows back then and on Fox Kids. I think Batman the animated series was on Fox Kids if I'm remembering correctly. But anyways, so this game was like part of my childhood. I love this game. And I love what I love what it did like to video games, right? Like video games were never the same after this game. This game like inspired this whole thing. This warning label right here, MA13, and Mortal Kombat 2 had MA17. So Mortal Kombat 2 was much worse than this game, at least when it came to content, or when it came to like the content of the game. I'm not saying it's worse than this. In fact, Mortal Kombat 2 was better than this game when it came to the gameplay and graphics and sound and music and everything like that. I mean, Mortal Kombat 2 improved on this game a lot. So, anyways, this game like got me into video games. Right? It wasn't Mario. It wasn't Super Mario. It wasn't SNES. It wasn't Ninja Turtles or anything like that. It was Mortal Kombat that got me into video games. This game has like a sentimental value to me. It has like a sentimental value. It's part of my childhood, right? It's something that started something with me. It's something that started a revolution. And it started an interest. It opened my interest to video games. So this is like a classic game. This is something I want to share with all my viewers. This game, Mortal Kombat. You know, and kids today will never know the joy. Well, I guess they would, but they would never know the joy of playing this game in arcade with your friends on a Friday night, because I used to do that. I used to. I remember one time, you know, we were at a hotel, me and my cousins, and we would we wouldn't even like be in the hotel room. We would just be dumping quarters, playing this game on the arcade. I remember it correctly, and I loved this game. All right, our parents hated it. My parents hated it, especially my dad. He hated it. Parents, not just my dad, but parents all across America hated it. But us '90s kids, we love this game, right? This game, this game was like, this game was like our childhood. This game was my childhood, right? All throughout 1993, whenever I was done with my homework, when I was done with my homework, when I was done reading the Quran, when I was done, you know, doing the doing whatever like worksheet they gave us back in those. I used to go to a private school, so they would give us like these extra worksheets. So when I was done with my homework, when I was done with was pranks law and all that stuff, I would just turn on the TV and I would just play this game until my dad literally forced me to stop. So I love this game. I love what it did to video games. It like revolutionized video games, right? And I would argue the same thing with GoldenEye for N64. That was also another classic that I played all the time. But I don't think but GoldenEye doesn't have an impact on me like Mortal Kombat did. Mortal Kombat was the game that got me into video games. This is the game that changed video game landscape, right? I mean, this is the game that gave us more mature games. And when I was younger, when I was like, in second grade or first grade or second grade and stuff like that, I didn't even want to play with Super Mario. I didn't want to play, SNES. We had Super Nintendo, Nintendo, and Sega Genesis back in the early '90s. And my dad got it for me and my older brother. So my brother was a big Nintendo guy. I was a big Sega Genesis guy. So I wouldn't even play, Super Nintendo or Mario Brothers or Turtles in Time 4. We used to have Turtles in Time 4. That's a big classic now. But back in the '90s, it was just an older game. But now it's a classic. I didn't even want to play that game. I just wanted to play Mortal Kombat. Like in my free time, if I wasn't watching cartoons, I can't remember what I would watch back in those days. I think I would watch Batman, the animated series, because that was something that started in 1992 because of the success of Batman Returns. And I forgot there was some other TV show I forgot I was watching back in 1993. I can't remember the name, but I watched Batman the animated series and that cartoon. Um, I want to say it was Looney Tunes or something like that. I don't remember, but let's just say it was Looney Tunes. I can't remember the exact name of it. Um, but then when I got Sega Genesis and when I got this game and when my dad got me Sega Genesis for my birthday in this game, I don't know. Like when I first played this game, I was like, holy shit. I remember like I don't know. I was like blown away by this game, right? I was just like, I loved it, right? I loved it so much that I would always play as Scorpion. And, I remember I remember going to the bookstore and getting like, back then there was no internet back then. And I remember going to the bookstore. I think it was Borders or something like that. Borders was, they had books back then and stuff like that. And I would just like, my mom wouldn't buy me the code book, right, or the cheat, what do you call it, the strategy guide. She wouldn't buy it for me because apparently she said $10 was too much for a strategy guide, so she wouldn't buy it for me. So I had to like memorize the finishing moves, right? I had to memorize Scorpion's finishing moves and Johnny Cage's or I'm sorry, Raiden's special moves and Sub Zero special moves and stuff like that. So I had to memorize the stuff. It's not like today, like in Mortal Kombat 11, you can just pause the game and the special moves just show up on screen. No, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that back in the early 90s. You would have to buy the strategy guide to figure out like how to play the game and stuff, or how to get the special moves in the game and things like that. So, anyways, like this game has it brings back so many memories of me, and I just wanted to share that. I think this game is really special, and it's really unfortunate that kids today will never know, the struggle of blowing into a cartridge, memorizing special moves, and just playing the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo and the Nintendo on like a TV with a big back. They will never. They might if their parents have like that retro stuff in their basement or whatever, but like those days will never come back, and that makes me sad. This game like defined my childhood. I love this game. This game has so much sentimental value to me. New Mortal Kombat's are okay, I guess. I always buy Mortal Kombat whenever it comes out. I just got Mortal Kombat 11 when it came out last year in April. But anyways, I just wanted to share what this game means to me. It means a lot, and I'm sure '90s kids would agree with me that Mortal Kombat was probably one of the best games that came out in the Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, and Nintendo games. So I just wanted to share what this game means to me when I found this game. And I'm sure a lot of my viewers who were around my age or grew up in the had childhoods in the '90s will more or less agree with me on this. Thanks a lot.